There is no greater gift we give our children than the love you give your spouse. There's no such thing. With all the under tachbulas, everything we try, everything we learn, everything we do, of Yesod, there is no greater gift we can give than the true love, the true ahava that we give to our spouse, that we develop in our marriage. That is the basis. Every Shalom, Bayis, drasha, talks about the chashivas, and it's the gateway to everything. It's the gateway to Avodas Hashem. It's the gateway to building our families, our children. It's the gateway to everything else. And befrat with our children, there is no greater gift. And we need to take this very, very seriously, because we're so busy, putting the dogish on fixing the crazy kids. Let's go fix them, How about fixing the crazy ourselves? Because that's the peiros of taking care of ourselves. I absolutely guarantee you, to oif greater peiros, and may have a greater hashpor, and a longer, more meaningful, deeper hashpor, than any possible intervention, even something that Avi's going to come up with that's going to be so mashun, so amazing, such a bomb he's going to drop from somewhere. I think some of you know what we're talking about here, right? But with all that, this is a greater bomb. This is it. This is the real thing. I hope to be able to walk us through this, to understand this. This, we talked last time, if you remember, about safe, secure, seen and soothed, about attachment. By now, I imagine Avi sent out 1,000 clips with little pieces of what we said. So we're baki atzum in safe, secure, seen and soothed. But this leads to that. Shalom Bayis, ahava, ben ish leishto, leads to that. You can't do that without this. It's not, it's like when I go into schools, and the schools always ask me, they want like happy techniques. They always want, give me a technique that all the kids will just basically shut up and listen. They'll all learn, and they'll all be, give me a technique. And I try to explain to them all the time, it's mamish nothing to do with technique. It's to do with your relationship with the children. Children feel you love them, and you're there with them, and you relate to them and understand where they're at, not where you want them to be. But then they're shy from you. They can hear you. The basis of all of this is Shalom. And in fact, the whole sugya of resilience, as we will see at the end, in Mitzvah Hashem, hope to tie it in and help everyone understand and explain it, that the sugya of resilience comes from, derives from, and is nurtured from this place of Shalom Bayis, of Ahava, Ben Ish Ishta. This is where it comes from. So, this is the Yesod HaYesodas, this is it. This is the awe of everything else has told us. This is the key. Marriage is a vehicle. Most people, you ask young people, why'd you get married? You ask young people, why'd you get married? Please, my mother thought I should go to shidduch. It was time. You ask a boy in the yeshiva, you think it's time. I don't know, my friends are getting married. I guess I should get married. They have this amazingly deep philosophical understanding of marriage. And then you get the ones, the real chachamim. Well, the boys, it's like, what am I going to do? I got my taivas. I got to do some of my taivas. I want a husband. I want a husband. I want a love. The lack of Havana that's taught to our children to understand, that's because we don't have it clear. If we had it clear, they would see Bedugma Was is? What is? Marriage is a vehicle, Bayis. It's a vehicle. Imagine a young man goes to school, graduates eventually, and during his years in school he sees all the time on the way to school the successful people hurrying to work. He thinks they're successful in a mature mind. They're polished, they're nice, their shoes are polished, they look very nice, they go down the subway, they go to work, their briefcases, the newspaper, they look successful. He wants to be with the successful people. Come the day he graduates school, and he goes, this is it, he borrows a briefcase from his brother, and he polishes his shoes all night long, and he gets an old suit, and he goes, this is it, I'm going to be with the successful people. He follows them, they go down to the subway, he comes to the toll booth, to the ticket booth there. And the man says, okay, so where are you going? He says, I don't know, I'm with them, wherever they're going, just give me a ticket. Everyone's going different places, like where are you going? I don't know, I want to be with them, the successful people. And he looks at them, this Meshuggah, what are you crazy? And they push him out the way, and everyone goes to work, and he's standing like a lemon. If you want to go on a journey, you got to know where you're going. Where are you going with your marriage? What is the tachlis of your marriage? Where is it taking you and why and how are you going to get there? If you don't have a picture, we don't just get married. There's a reason and purpose, and our children need to feel this from us. They need to see it and experience it and feel it. The tragedy of the world around us, Rabbi, so we're affected by it. We live in a world, a secular world around us, where marriage is being devastated. We're living in a world today in the Western world where most people, the majority of all people, will never be married to the same person for 10 years. Most marriages in the Western world today are dissolved, the majority within 10 years. People cannot maintain 10 years of a marriage. And we get affected by this. I was once in a doctor's office, fascinating, and I saw a secular rag magazine, Psychology Today. And it was interesting. I saw on the front cover 10 ways to improve your marriage. So I couldn't resist it. Pasha couldn't resist it. So I opened up the magazine, take a look. 10 ways from the chachamim of the secular world are going to guide us and advise us. Marvelous how to have good marriage. So I think it was number 7 or 8. State, consider being away from each other more. You need your own time, your own space. This is the chachamim from the Goyish Akab. Consider being away more. It's Meshuggah. And yet, in a certain way, we're also a bissel Meshuggah because we don't sit and analyze and think, what am I doing with my marriage? How many of us have sat down? I don't mean, what am I going to do? How am I not going to fight? What am I doing with my marriage? How many of us have sat down and seriously thought, I got married, why? What's it for? What am I doing with it? I was once at a Shabbaton, and they asked us an interesting question. I was talking all Shabbos about Torah psychology. So some bright spark challenged me and said, Rabbi Russell, if you keep talking about Torah psychology, so what's the difference between secular psychology and Torah psychology? How do you magdir the difference? It was an Eisner question. Hashem, Siyata Dishmaya, the following thought came to my head. And it's nageh to us. I said like this: secular psychology seeks to help a person be the happiest, most fulfilled person you could possibly be while causing the least harm to everyone around you. This is the tachlis of secular psychology. You should be happy, fulfilled, but cause the least harm to everyone around you, or to you, your wife, your husband, the kid. Work how to handle all the problems. But the Ikka is me. Torah psychology, I would suggest, is how do I become the ultimate mative to everyone around me while preserving the ability to be happy and fulfilled. Avada, my focus has to be on everyone else, not me, not my ego, not my needs. Avada, I have to do it in a way that's healthy and gesund, so I preserve my ability to be happy and fulfilled. But das nicht the dogish. The dogish is how do I become a mative to everybody else? That's Torah psychology. And in the framework of a Torah marriage, that's the dogish, that's the nakuda. Most people, when they get married, it's for what I can get out of it. They're fantasizing, projecting, what am I going to get from this marriage? Yichus, money, all these stupid things, forgive me, but it's yachasit. In comparison, I don't mean chas v'shalom. What I mean is, I hope you understand, it's about not what I get, it's about what I can give. It's about what I can do with myself. That's the point of my marriage. It's a fascinating Gemara. This gets a little lumdish. The ladies will forgive me if I lose you. I hope I don't. But just, the men need a bissel Torah or we lose them. They start falling asleep. Okay, they start falling asleep. So we have a bissel Torah to wake up the men. I think the ladies will follow just fine. What? Oh, okay, perfect. The Gemara says like this in the Gemara Saita Yedua, Abayim yoim koidim yitziras hablad yoytze bas kol v'ameres bas ploini leploini. 40 days before it's machlokes, I'm going to go with conception. 40 days before the moment of conception, it's machlokes, but I'd like to name on that pshat. A bas kol goes out in Shamayim and says, Bas ploini le ploini. Everyone knows this Gemara. They said over by Sheva Brachas, Lani Estati, no one has a clue what it means, and no one's ever analyzed it at all. And I'll show you. Let me break it down. First of all, Bas kol yoytz of ames. Did anyone ever hear this Bas kol? What's the point of this Bas kol? Anyone ever hear it? Other than someone saying it at a Sheva Brachas. Did you ever hear the Bas kol? So what's the point of the Bas kol? But that's the easy question. The Bas kol comes out 40 days before conception and says, Bas Ploini, the daughter of Ploini, will marry Ploini. You're still with me, right? Okay. So 40 days before the conception of whom does a Bas kol go out and say the daughter of this one is going to marry that one? Whose conception, the girl or the boy? So Tosfos asked the question. The Tosfos says it's the stomach of the boy because the boy is probably older than the girl, which is pretty much the minhag olam. So therefore we can now analyze and say this. 40 days before the conception of this boy, a Bas kol goes out and says, Bas Ploini will marry Ploini. That means this unconceived boy, 40 days from now he's going to be conceived, yeah? Let's follow. 40 days before his Yisir, if we're going with conception, a Bas kol goes out and tells us the daughter of someone else, Yankel, is going to marry this boy who will be conceived in 40 days from now. We're still with it, yeah? Let's play this out. A possibility. I'm not saying has to be this, but that's a possibility of what we're talking about. Just so we can understand the profundity of this Gemara. Young couple, they get ready to shidduch. Let's say, if you don't mind, we'll start with a Litvisha. Is that okay? Hope so. Okay. So this boy is 23, let's say. And he gets ready to shidduch, a 19-year-old girl. He's in brisk. she's in BJJ, sounds all very good. They get ready to shidduch, they come home, Pesach ben Azmanim, it's good, they meet 2-3 times, a shidduch. It's gewaldig. They're going to get married like Bayis. Okay, so now 40 days before, let's say they're zoicha to conceive, Leil Rishon of the Chasna, they conceive. Okay, she conceives and she has a conception. That means 40 days before the conception, that's about when? I think we passed the date already, no? I think. Right? 40 days before Lag B'Omer, we already passed. That was somewhere like before Pesach. That was when they met, right? So 40 days before Pesach, when they met, they already had a shidduch for their son. We with this? Their son has a shidduch. Because 40 days from now, they're going to get married like B'Omer. They're rushing this thing through. It's the dates, the halls. It's just hard to find halls, Rabbi say. So they found the hall, whatever. It was the Baba's Yotzeit, so it fits. So Bekitzer, 40 days before, was already before Pesach. This couple meet, and they've already, in Shemayim, conceived a son, and zugepasst that this son is a shidduch, the daughter of someone else. And now let's work out who's the daughter here, who's the kala to this boy that's not conceived yet. Who's the kala? It turns out the kala is the oldest daughter and oldest child of a young couple. She's their first, and she was also magically conceived first night they got married. So let's think, where is her father and mother today? So if the boy, her husband's parents, he's 23, she's 19. Let's say the girl's 3 years younger. So that would be, the boy is 20, 21, the father of the girl. Are we with it? How old is the wife? We're following here. She's about 16, 17. In fact, if this couple would meet, they'll both get thrown out of school. They'll never get a shidduch. Meanwhile, unbeknown to them, in Shemayim, they're married, have a tachter who has a shidduch. A bas kol geht rein and says, Bas ploini leploini. This could, I'm not saying this has to be, do you understand? I'm just saying a possibility of what is included in this Besura Toiva is this story. Why? It's an unbelievable thing. All Min HaShamayim is gedreit and exactly who you're going to marry in Mishamayim before conception. It's all worked out. Why? Because the zivug is going to bring you absolutely unique challenges that only HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His infinite wisdom could possibly have worked out how to give you that balance of goodness and hardness and love and difficulties and struggles and nisyonis, the whole mizug that guarantees you achieve your tachlis in this world. Das ist l'mala min ha'teva. Das is supernatural. Kriyas Yamsuf, right? It's like Zvugim Shalom. It's all l'mala min ha'teva because that person you get contains within them such a unique perfection of the balance of the good and the bad to force you to work on yourself. That only the Eibishter could work that out. Shatchonim don't work that out. They have siyata d'shmaya to pull into this. Maybe they hear the bas kol taka. Bechalt, if you hear the bas kol, the real bas kol is the voice of your own neshama that tells you, this is my zivug. Mit alle problemen. With everything that I'm challenged with, this is my zivug. That's the bas kol. And if we listen deeply in the neshama, if you listen deeply inside, you can hear it. And you can know the truth. And we have to embrace that truth. marriage has two goals. What's the purpose of marriage? There are two purposes in marriage. I'm not talking about the Rambam, there should be a Seder for bringing children in the world, the Seder Kedusha. I'm talking about the tachlis of marriage. Is Dovka Bay. Through marriage we learn Dovka Bay. The Dveikus ben ish le'ishtoi. The difficulty to work, how to be mavatal myself, to overcome my ego, to get rid of me, to get me out the way. In order to have the marriage work properly, I have to get me out of the way. Because what gets in the way is only me. And that teaches me dovka bay. That teaches me to be mavatal myself, to be dovak with Eibishter. The tachlis of marriage brings me, it's the Eza, it's the greatest Eza I'll ever have. To bring me to Dveikus Bayis Barach. To connect to Rabbeinu Shalom, because the only thing that stops me connecting to the Rabbeinu Shalom is me. Is my ego. My self-centeredness. That's what gets in the way. If I can get that out of the way, I can connect to Rabbeinu Shalom. And you can't have a good marriage unless you get yourself out of the way. Because the only thing that gets in the way of a good marriage is yourself. Self-centered needs. I need this. My Unzufriedenkeit with you. That's what gets in the way. So the work of marriage to overcome that's the primary goal of marriage, is to get me out of the way. And through that I learn Dovka Bay. Through that I can come to Dveikus to Rabbeinu Shalom. And the second purpose of marriage is Tikkun Amidus. It's the greatest possibility to do Tikkun Amidus is marriage. There is no Musa Seder on earth or Musa Sefer that is as profound as looking your spouse in the eye humbly and saying, I was wrong. I was wrong and I hurt you. And I'm so ashamed. I'm embarrassed. I hurt you. There is no Musa Seder or Musa Sefer that can take you to that place of humility, of honesty, of painful awareness. I got in the way. I allowed myself to get in the way and I hurt you. Marriage is the dual tachlis of Tikkun Amidus. And Dveikus Bayis Barach, it's the holy vehicle of our lives. It's what we were born for. It's the Abayim Yoim Yekodim Sis Avlad. They wish to put it all together with this unique matzah that's going to be mobile, that's going to take me to the Eibishter. The Idach Pirusha, everything else is just a Pirush on this. This is the heart. This is the Asad. If we don't see this vehicle, where are we going? Where are we going? What are we doing? Adam Arishon was created du partzufim. Adam Arishon was both man and woman. He was the tachlis of shleimus. Right? He had the man and the lady on the other side. He was the absolute tachlis of shleimus. He was the perfection of the bria. Where man and woman have dveikus in ganzen total dveikus, so much so they go beyond shleimus. They have achdus. They're one. And the Eibishter said, "Lo tovei es ha'odam levad." That's not good to be one. To be one like that. You're alone like that. That's not good. You know why? Because you can't work on yourself like that. He took him apart. He separated and then said, "Go work it out. Go work out how to do your dveikus. Go work out how to connect again." And everything in marriage is bringing the person back to the matzah of Adam Arishon, that we should be this ultimate dveikus, husband and wife, and work out how to get everything out the way so we can be davak with each other. And the Eibishter took Adam Arishon aside and said, "You now, mankind, go on this journey. Work it out. Find out how to do it." You see, the Shir Hashirim is referred to Kol Hashirim Kodesh. Shir Hashirim is Kodesh HaKadoshim. What is Shir Hashirim? You can't read Shir Hashirim in the translation. You can't read it Pashut. It's a love song. A poetic, and in the language is a poetic. Why this example? To show us the highest level of Kedusha, of Dveikus Bayis Baruch, the highest level of Dveikus with HaKadosh Baruch, of Klal Yisrael's Dveikus with Hashem, is shown through language of intimacy and closeness between husband and wife. Because that is the ultimate Dveikus, comes from there. You can't get higher. Zohar Kodesh says, Mishchar Beis HaMikdash, from the after Beis by Beis HaMikdash, where did Siyata Dishmaya come to Klal? So Ben Chruvim, when the Chruvim were facing each other, the Siyata Dishmaya came down and dispersed to all of Klal Yisrael. Mishchar Beis HaMikdash, amazing. B'shas husband and wife are together. Unbelievable thing. In the secular world, this is the most profane thing on earth. In our world, this is Kodesh HaKadoshim. It brings the Shekhinah down and sends it to your family. It sends the Shekhinah into your children. When husband and wife can work out how to be davuk together, insensitive, caring, loving, kind, totally focused on each other, and get yourself out of the way. And all the hashpos come to your family from there. Like I said, everything else is tachbulas rubaisa. That's the ikka. That's the foundation. And it's a very schwer thing. It's not easy. Schrecklich. Imagine, there's halachas, fascinating halachas. There's halachas like Lucis Goydu. Give an example. Pnei Ketata, says the Gemara. We shouldn't have ketata. We shouldn't be fighting. So Chazal had takonas that we shouldn't fight with each other. There should be shalom between people. So there's various halachas have a takona, and they're because of shalom. So you find by a get, it's a strange thing. The get is the mizbech in Shemayim is yored demos. It's yored demos. It should be the other way around. There was ketata. The husband and wife were fighting. They weren't able to work out the shalom. They didn't have the siyat dishmaya. It didn't work. Happens. But they didn't find one or the other, the siyat dishmaya, to make it work. It just didn't happen. And they had katata. They fought. So Adarabah, they did what the Torah says, and they give a get, and they move on and try and find a life without katata, without fighting. So the mizbech should be dancing a rakida. Lachem should come out, dance, and say Baruch Hashem. There's less katata in the world. Go find happiness. Was epis is yod damos? I think pshat is pashut. It's the lost opportunity. It's the lost opportunity because in that Abayim Yom Kaid B'Siras Avlad lick the opportunity to find the ultimate shleimus, the ultimate dveikus, and it's only in a zivuk. And it's dafka the mizbeach that we're makarev ourselves to Rabbeinu Shalom through the mizbeach, because it's all about kirva to Rabbeinu Shalom, and that's something to cry about. That's that. The opportunity that was lost. About it, less katata. Makes sense. I've lost opportunity. That's the sadness. Because the whole tachlis of the marriage is this bittul atzmi. I have to get rid of myself. I have to understand I've got a big fat ego. And it's always getting in the way. It's always provering for me. There's only two types of people who don't have this problem, you should know, with ego. They are liars and deniers. All the rest of us, we have the problem. One way or another. And the avodah, the journey of the marriage is to schlep us through life, getting rid of that by giving to someone else. by putting someone else first. That's how you get rid of it. Imagine the hashpah, min hashamayim, what you bring to your children, your family, if you could bring this into your shtub. If this is what your children grow with, and we'll show you later how profound this really is. Years ago, I gave a drasha in Lakewood. I went to my Rebbe before, my Rebbe, Metzio, and I told him I want to give a drasha. The title of the drasha is this: Men and women were made by Rabbeinu Shalom not to get along naturally. This is the title of the drasha. He looked at me, he said, a little bit extreme, Rabbi Shimon, don't you think? A little bit extreme? I said, no, I think it's true. There's nobody? I said, no. Nobody, he said to me. I was sitting right next to him. I said, no. Nobody. It's unnatural. Men and women do not get along naturally. They wish to made it that way, so we do the work. Tikkun Amidus, Dveikus Bayis. He looked at me and he said, really? You really think nobody? And I said, I absolutely know it's true. Nobody. Closed his eyes. Thought for a minute. Yeah, Rabbi Shimon. Yeah, nobody. I would tell you, Rabbi Sai, I gave this drasha. In those days I had an answer machine. I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it. But I had an answer machine. It was full. Every day, every time I got it cleaned up, it was full with people who resonated to that message. They told me in their lives they'd never considered this truth. But it resonated so deeply to the Olam. Men and women were made by Rabbeinu Shalom that we do not get along naturally. We can get along. Don't get too upset. Don't bring out the tissues. It's okay. We can get along. Some of the ladies are thinking of leaving. The men left. But it's a fact, we don't get along naturally. It's unnatural. Later on I found the Maharal Grada that says it, by the way. Later on I found the Maharal, the Maharal Zod, by Eza Kenegdoi. She's an Eza by being Kenegdoi, she's opposite him. It's through the opposition to him that she helps him. And that's how the whole thing works. But it's unnatural, he says. Al-Tivi, it's a Lashon Al-Tivi, I think it's in the Go area. But he says, I found the Lashon later on, this talk is supernatural. Men and women do not get along naturally. And that's a gift. We have to see that. Let me explain how that works. Explain the sugya, we don't get along naturally. I want to say an edel nakuda to start with. It's a very edel nakuda. I don't want to cross any boundaries of offending anyone. I'm going to mention a little tiny piece about intimacy. I'll tell you that I discussed this with Gedolei Yisrael, certain Rebbes. The principle of Ein Doshim Barabim is true, of course, and I'm not going to speak about any pratim, but a concept. If I say what I'm about to say, if anyone feels a little bit offended, or you felt I could say this in a better way, a more edel way, I would definitely appreciate if you don't walk out mumbling about me and just come and tell me how I could have said it better. I'd appreciate that. We're all mature people here. So there are 4 reasons why, in my humble opinion, men and women do not get along naturally. 4 reasons. I'm going to be masbir what they are. The first, the first is about the different physical needs in the way that Eibishter made men and women. Because the Eibishter made men, in other words, for Kiyam Amin, so there's a musig of Taivas Noshim. Noshim don't have a reciprocal musig of Taivas Anoshim. There's no reciprocal level of Taiva that exists in men, that men struggle with, Taivas Noshim. There's no reciprocal same level of Taivas Anoshim by Isha. No such thing. El Ishech Chukoseich, love and chiba and caring and protection and kindness. It's not the same, there's not the level of Pashat Taiva that exists by men, does not exist by Noshim. And this causes problems. It causes problems. It causes problems because for most men in the journey through their marriage, especially in the early years of their marriages, is an experience of needs not being met enough, should I say. Let's be polite. By Noshim is an experience of needs are too much requested. Noshim know the experience of, I got a headache, not in the mood, tired. And it creates a dissonance between husband and wife, an inevitable dissonance between the husband and wife, where there's an inaimus. And even, it would be, there's suggestions in halacha and gemara, kiyadua, of zman and frequency and all these kind of things in the sugya of physical intimacy. Aval ha'maisa, it's not a hard fact of what, the nisht. And I say it leaves men often feeling rejected, disappointed, hurt. Every man knows that experience. Or an Isha feeling pressured, guilted, also pressured. Why did David do this? Why did David do this to us? Why didn't he give us the same needs and feelings and desires so it would stim? Olam chesed yiboneh. David created the world to do chesed with us. Wouldn't that have been a convenient chesed if he'd stimmed it for us? Or maybe no one should have any needs at all, and there's no needs, there's just a cold, cut and dry mitzvahs, a zman, a shir, without needs involved. That would also make it easier. But the Eibishter gave us these needs. Why? If Olam Chesed Yiboneh, why? Why did he create that dissonance, that struggle, that conflict, subtle sometimes and less subtle other times? Why? Nichalt, because it guarantees we have to work on ourselves. It creates a matzav of sensitivity and tuning in where you have to tune in. You have to be sensitive. You have to put your own needs aside for the other person. You have to put your ego aside, your own needs. You have to put it aside. Take it under control and not be a baby, but control it to respect and love and show that caring to the other side. As the Eibishter gave us this dissonance, this imbalance, as a myriad gift. That's if we know it is one. That's if we know where we're going. That's if we know there's a vehicle that's taking us somewhere. So then we reorient towards this gift as an opportunity. For us it becomes it's like a gym. If a Martian arrived, from Mars, and he saw a gym, you think these people are mad. You know, he works out, after a while, they're paying money, big money, to go into this funny room, strap themselves to all combination machines, and then groan in misery and pain. The Martian would look at us, Bismarck, sugar these earthlings. Are they crazy? They're paying a commodity called money that's very important to them, and a lot of it, to go in and make themselves miserable. What are they doing? It would look like a modern cook. Equally strange would be if you went into a gym and paid a lot of money, and you start going, and they run over to you, the people around the gym, oh quick, take off a few pounds there. Yeah, I see that's too hard for you. Until you can, oh yeah, that's okay, now that's fine. That's fine. That's good now. It's sugar. All of us, every Baal Maven understands that the resistance of the machines that causes the sweating and the work is exactly why you're there. This world, Rabbi Say, is a home gym. Your marriage is the best machine you'll ever buy in any gym with perfect resistance. Sorry, got a headache tonight. That's perfect resistance. And under the drasha, I'll explain how to handle that, but not now. It is a chesed from the Eibishter to create that dissonance, and it never goes away. It's always really there, and it shafts such a beautiful opportunity for all of us to mechazik ourselves and work on our midas and character and personality. It's mamish a gift from Rabbeinu Shalom. That's reason number one. We don't get along naturally. Reason number two, everybody knows, but I want to be mavaya anyway. Reason number two, men, kiyadua, if anyone has read the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, the original book, it was a very, very good book. And he said a basic yesod. Personally, I hate him. I wish I'd written the book. I didn't. Finished the muzzle, he made millions of dollars. But there it is. It's a wonderful book. And in there he explains that men are primarily outcome-oriented, and Nashim, Ruba Dekula, are primarily process-oriented. Now that does not mean that Nashim do not like outcome. They do. They do. They just love the process. By Nashim, the process of life is as much life itself as the outcome of life. By men, the process is driving me crazy. Actually, the book was written for Nashim. It's a fascinating mistake he made. He wrote the book for women. I guess he assumed only women were going to read it. Because each time he says a yesod, he gives 5 or 6 examples of the same yesod. That's process. Women love that. They could read it again and again and again. They could hear this drasha tomorrow. Again, they'd all turn up. I promise you. The men are barely staying. You say it, you gave one example, Rabbi Shimon. What do you have to give a second example for? I got it. Achavt. Move on. Move on. It's dragging. It's dragging. That's what they're feeling already. I'm telling you. They're laughing. They know I'm right. See, now they begin looking at their watches. Give you a marshal, a young couple. This young couple, yeshivish young couple, they moved to Eretz Yisrael, they get married, beautiful couple. They learn in Koil many years. First, 4 or 5 years, they come home for Pesach. The parents bring them in. And 5, 6 years into the marriage, the parents have smaller homes. They made many more chasnas. So they come up with an einfall. They really don't have room. This couple already have 3 little kids. And there was talk of maybe staying and making their own Pesach. So the parents, both sides, discussed, said, okay, if you want to make your own Pesach, anyways, Harvard, the rooms and everything else, we'll give you money, make your own Pesach. They said, Gavaldik. They want to bring one night boys, Bali Tshuva boys. Second night they'll bring Bali Tshuva girls. It'll be Gavaldik. They'll make a Kiddush Hashem. They're staying for Pesach. Eretz Yisrael, Gavaldik. Anyway, it's their first Pesach. Everyone knows Pesach is Nishpashit. Organizing Pesach. So they try to get their Pesach organized. And they're running very late. They have a 4-year-old, they have a 2-year-old, she's nursing, they got a little baby. It's a matzav over there. The kids, and he's running around clueless about what to do. She at least helped her mother, so she has a musag. He was always in yeshiva, has no clue, Pesach, what you're meant to do. She is tichtig, she's nursing, she's taking care of the 2 kids, and she's giving him instructions from the bedroom what to do, and they're working it out. The kids said they're pretty close. There's not much room there to solve the closets, the cabinets. They stuff the chometz kalim under the sink. They seal it up with duct tape. She, of course, goes back with duct tape. He has no clue what it is. Women always know about duct tape. Men really should know, because women always have a roll somewhere just in case. Anyway, so she's got the duct tape. She says, she seals it up. It's good. And Maisa, the sink is now full with the inserts. It's full of kalim. She has to make a Suda. She hasn't even started yet. It's late in the afternoon. When he announces, she's in the bedroom nursing, and he announces, I think there's water dripping out from the cabinet under the sink. There's water. He's trying to wash the dishes. There's water. She says, you're probably splashing over the top. He says, no, I can tell you it's coming out. I see it. The duct tape is beginning to peel. She said, Gewalt. She helps in a moment. You must have stuffed too many kalim in the bottom, and it moved the U thing under there, and it got weak, right? And there's water coming out. He says, what should I do? What does any man say? What should I do? She says, first you calm down. Calm down. We're going to make Pesach. It's going to be fine. Take all the kalim out. Well, I should take chometz out. It's after the Zman. This guy's a brisker guy. He's going to burn in hell any moment now. He's taking chometz kalim out. Anyway, the kid says, she says, take a bath towel, put it on the floor, put the kalim on the bath towel. We'll clean up. Okay, fine. He's got the kalim out. Now what do I do? She says, look, take a look. See if it's loose. It's dripping. Okay, dry it off. Take some duct tape. Wrap some duct tape around it, put the stuff back in, it'll be fine. And then she says, but he doesn't hear her, take my hairdryer, dry it off, because the duct tape's not going to stick. He says, no, it's fine, I did it with paper. Take the hairdryer. Paper towels is fine. Kid said, he duct tapes it up, he puts the thing, it drips. He has to take it all out again. He's lying in the cabinet now he's lying in there with a hairdryer, drying the YouTube. And you have to get this picture on his back, on the floor, with his back on the cabinet, trying to dry this thing. And as he does, he notices, out of his peripheral vision, the 4-year-old and 2-year-old are playing hide-and-seek with, let's see if we can hide the chometz kalim around the house. So he notices them, and right away lifts his head to tell him not to do it, whacks his head on the top of the cabinet. And he starts screaming, and she is saying, what's going on? She's still in the bedroom nursing. The kids, the kalim, she says, don't worry, we'll find the kalim. No one's going to use the kalim. The kids are not cooking on Yom Tov, don't worry. The kids say, finally, he dries it, he chests it, it works, he duct tapes it, he puts the chametz. Now, it's mamish mincha is just starting in the local shtibel. Forget the mikveh, forget everything. And she just says, get out the house. Go daven. I'll take care of it. And I think someone had this experience of it. She just says, get out the house. We all know that feeling. And he goes to mincha. So he runs in. They started mincha already. So he pulls himself together, feeling miserable. He didn't go to the mikveh, his first Pesach, but there it is. Tisha Kabin in the shower. He got the shower from the drain there. And he starts davening mincha. And he finishes. And by the end of mincha, he's beruiged himself. And now he has to think, I got boys from Bali Chubas. He's got to get 50 million tires ready for these boys. Which type of tires? He can't speak brisker Torah here, so he's got an art scroll to see if he can work something out here. Bekitza, and he sits down, and one of his friends sees him, and he says to him, Yanko, how you doing? Good Yantov. He says, Good Yantov. He says, no, how is it making your first Yantov? And he turns and says, yeah, Baruch Hashem, fine, Baruch Hashem. It's good. That's it. Okay. Did we fix the pipe? Is there water leaking? So why are we going to talk about it? They make a beautiful 2-day Yontif. First day Chol HaMoed. She has a baba in Bnei Brak. So they go to Bnei Brak. First day Yontif. They come to Bnei Brak. They walk in. Baba and Zayda sitting there. Einechach, you're here. Nu, how was your first Yontif? And she says, let me tell you, Bobby, it was amazing. And she goes through the whole story with the duct tape and the pipe and the kids running, and he whacked his head. Look, you can see the mark on his head. You see, and she's nachas, you can't imagine, enjoying this story of how. And then finally we got it together. He went to shul, and he came home, and we did it, and we had a beautiful seder, and it's all part of her picture of life, and it was geschmack and gewaldig. And Bobby's sitting there, and mamish enjoying this story. Wow, this is amazing. Kids, so they leave on the way home. They get out of the house, and he is burning. Burning! Why'd you have to embarrass me? I'm so embarrassed. About what? She says. What? The whole story, you made me look like such a fool. It's just a story. It just happened. No one thinks you're a fool. You fixed it. It's just life. No, you made me like a fool. And the whole way home, he doesn't talk to her. He's all miserable. And she's like sitting there. What did I do? What did I do? Okay, they make up. Life goes on. He goes Mincha Ma'ariv, goes Shachris. Next day, Bayit Vagan, he's got an uncle. They go visit the uncle. They walk in. And his auntie, gives her a kiss, sit down. No, how was your first Yontif? Auntie, let me tell you this story. It was so interesting. And she goes through the whole story again. Two years later, they go to another relative, and she says, let me tell you about our first Yontif. She'll be an altar baba with Einiklach. And let me tell you, Shefel, about my first Pesach. To Nashim, the process, the storyline, is just as chashuv as whether or not the drain got fixed. To us, I got my toolbox, I fixed it, what do we have to talk about it for? What is it relevant? What happened? What's relevant is the sink's working. Nashim do something else that's interesting. They do something that for men is unbelievable self-imposed tsar. It's called window shopping. Women, they walk past, they look at what they can't buy. And they enjoy that experience. It's fascinating. Most men, I want a suit, I walk in, what do you need? A suit. Why else would I be here? You sell suits, no? Okay, what kind of suit? Blue, dark. Okay, they bring one out, you try it on. It's dark, it's blue, I'm buying it. You do the hems, you're out in about 15 minutes if you're lucky. By Nashim is days of shopping, kaifing, and buying, and bringing, and trying on, and taking back. You come home one night, you say, your wife, what did you do today? Unbelievable, what a day. What did you do? Because he went to a shiur in Shalom Bayis, so he knew he had to ask her. So he asked her what to do. And she tells him, she said, well, I went to the store, I needed a top to match the shoes, to match the thing for my sister's chasna. It's coming up, it has to be, and the theme is blue, and it has to be this, and whatever, and I had a skirt, but I didn't have a top. So she spent all day looking for this top, and she brought back, and it didn't quite match in the light. It's the wrong light. Which light? You have to go in the street and it was overcast, but the hall has fluorescence. Which hall is the chasna in? They have a Kesher Nafshi about which hall, because they know the lighting. It's amazing. So they know what they're going to look like. It's amazing. And meanwhile, what does she do? At the end of this next hour and a half story about what she did, you find out she returned everything. Not a piece did she keep. And she calls this a good day. She went shopping. For a man, this is self-imposed Gehinnom. I'd rather die. Women are primarily process-oriented. The process of life talks to them. The process doesn't with us. What was the Eibishter thinking? We should get along. Most men, as soon as she starts with the process, we look at the watch. Mashgiach used to say there's 2 times men look at their watch. One is when their wife starts talking to them, and the other is when you start benching, because it's the end of the meal and you want to see how long you're flashing for. So you look at your watch. Otherwise, they're always late. They never look at their watch. Why did Eibishter do this to us? What was he thinking? And the answer is because it forces us to be patient and sensitive and tuned in, because that's the need of an Isha, is to be tuned into. We have a sign in my wife's office. It says, I think it says something, she'll have to tell me, I'm in trouble. I think it says like this. Women, I think it says they don't need chocolates, flowers, or jewelry. They need focused attention. Focused attention. What's the hardest thing for us to do? Focused attention. Yeah, I gave you some jewelry. You're not happy? Didn't I buy you something? And the Eibishter did this for us as a gift. He could have made us all have the same temperament, but he dafka didn't. In order that we should work on ourselves, on our midas, on our character, our personality, that we work on ourselves to work out how to shtim. That's the gift. That's how we reach Dov Kabbai. And that's the second reason why we cannot get along naturally. The third reason is personality. This applies both to men and men, men and women, but kal v'chaim men and women, because the nature and personalities of men and women are different. There are the Gaon Tainas, there's a Zohar Kodesh that says there are shivim koiches lenefesh. That means there are 70 qualities that make up personality, like sensitivity and kindness and anger and frustration and happiness and love. There are 70 different qualities to the nefesh. I always wondered, the Rambam says, Kishem shepartzufeim einu doim kach deoseim einu doim. Just like your faces are different, not even doima, your deus, that's your personality, your philosophy of life, einu doim. Not even doima. How did the Rambam know this for sure? I once said this to the Sheva Brachos. I have a brother who's a bissel mathematician. So he said, it's very simple. If there's shivim keiches l'nefesh, and let's say each midah differs in 2 ways, eiches and kamas. You could be very sensitive and you could be frequently sensitive. You could be not so sensitive, you could be infrequently. So frequency and intensity, right? Eiches and kamas would define, let's assume there's just 2. It's on or off. Just 2. So what's 2 to the power 70? Well, 2 to the power 36 is more people than have lived since Adam Rishon. So 2 to the power 70, I wouldn't bother trying to work it out. So it's not shaykh that 2 people should be doima, and befrat, that women, Noshim, have a different set of personality traits. Sensitivity is a perfect example. Women are simply, because of their maternal instinct, what's demanded of Noshim to be to have and carry a baby and give of herself to a baby the way she does, demands a different type of sensitivity that men don't. We do not have a maternal instinct. We don't have it. In personality, the chances of an Ish and Isha having the same personality is zero. Zero. So how exactly are you meant to get along? Your personality defines how you experience and relate to life, how you feel about things. And so that's the third reason that men and women cannot get along naturally. It's impossible. It's not shaykh. Our personalities are just different. As much as you think you can come from the same shtibel, the same little place, where the same town, same village. Personalities are completely different. It's impossible that a man and woman will have the same personality or personality traits. That means we will irk each other. We will bother each other. There are things we do that will bother the husband, that will bother the wife will bother the husband in personality, in the way you do things, the way you think about things, the way you function and think and everything. So what was the Eibishter thinking? How are we meant to get along and have this love and have this Shalom Bayis when our personalities are so completely different? How's this meant to work? Opposite again, the same Yesod. It forces us to work. Thus is the gift. It's the home gym. It makes us work. There's three reasons. And the last reason is culture. Culture. The chance in this world, especially we live in, but it's always been this way, but befrat in the world we live in today, what's the chance of two people having the exact same culture? People today marry people from different countries, from different backgrounds, different chassidusim. And each one has its own culture, its own flavor. I grew up, I'm English, I think it's pretty obvious, correct? Yeah. It slipped through somewhere. My wife married me for my accent, so I have to keep it. So, I'm English, she was American, I got married. I expected supper. I thought that was normal. I didn't know Americans don't have supper. Everyone's like busy, working. On Shabbos you have supper. Otherwise the mother's busy giving the kids from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It's like non-stop, she's noshing with them. Your husband will come in, help himself, take something, not take something. We're going running to a board, we're running to a chasna. Supper happens somewhere. But we grew up in a family, 6 o'clock was family supper. My father came home from work, we sat around, we had supper, we talked. That's culture. European culture is very, very different to American culture. I once gave a drasha, I don't want to say where, I got in such trouble I can't even tell you. After this drasha, usually people come over to me and say, Shimon, it was so beautiful, you spoke so nicely. You get like, this couple came over and said, we must speak to you. I figured, okay, they want some chizuk. They pulled me into a room and they screamed at me. Who gave you rishus to embarrass us publicly? Which Rav set you up? We want to know, we demand to know. It's like, I don't know what they're talking about. I made it up. I never, ever say over exact stories of anything. Every story I say is really a composite of bits and pieces of different people's lives and parts. I'm very makpid on it. I never say a story that, except in my own life, my own stories about me, but otherwise I never say a story that actually, it's bits and pieces. And I made it up. I'll tell you the story. The story was as a young couple get married, Shivish couple, nice young couple. And they go live near the girl's parents, wealthy people, and after a few years they live in various rentals. The shver says it's time we should buy you a house, and they bought a house for them, and they have to do renovations. They fix the house up. The The husband comes from a real Yekisha background, Yeshivisha, Pashut, Yekisha background. She comes from a classic Hungarian home. Did someone say, oh no? So they're doing renovations, and they get to the dining room. Everything stops. They're kemat divorced over this dining room. Why? Because a Hungarian dining room, Rabbi Shimon, everyone knows. See, this is such a Yekisha room. The Hungarians are okay with the chandeliers. They're having a problem. They're still looking for the moldings. Where's the moldings? Rabbi Shimon, we need molding. Hungarians are very nervous sitting in a dining room without moldings. You need, preferably, like 3 layers of moldings. And real Hungarians, the middle one should have grapes carved into it. Right? That's a dining room. What's a dining room without moldings? Crown mold, a wall hits a ceiling. What's that? It's like, it's bare. It's like walking around without clothes. It's like not nice. That's a Hungarian dining room. A Yekisha dining room, it's amazing. A wall hits the ceiling. And there's nothing in the middle. It's just like a line. This is painted, and this is painted, and everyone's happy. What do you need moldings? That's nicer. So you need moldings? All right, I'm masking. You want one molding, one thin strip to hide the line. Masking. And she's crying ahead of her dream of her whole life. It's like her Zayda and her Baba. They have 3 with their grapes. I need the grapes. I must have the. And my father's paying for this. And this whole thing ground down to a standstill over moldings. Turned out, I made it up. I thought, it was like a bit crazy, but it happened. And they were sitting in the audience. Culture's a funny thing. In England, if you buy a table in England, any sophisticated Englishman knows this, you put your hand under the table and you feel the finish. Is it finished underneath? If it's finished, you know it's a quality piece of table. You check underneath to see, because a craftsman finishes underneath. Maybe someone will drop something on the floor, they'll kneel down, they'll notice underneath. So a craftsman finishes a table. In America, everything gets thrown away. So when you're finishing under the table, it's a total waste of time. As long as it looks fancy and lacquered and, it looks like a piece of work of art, we'll throw it away anyway after a while. Who cares? We're going to get a new one in 2 years. So it's a different culture. Dressing, acting. A Shabbos table has a culture to how you run a Shabbos table. How many places you have a home where the culture of your home demands that if the father, who happens to be the Gadol Ador, let's be real, when he says a Dvar Torah, everyone is absolutely silent. You have to sit there and pay interest. You have to pay attention for 20 minutes at least while he's darshaning. Other homes, he's lucky he gets in a 2-minute vote with a thing, and whoever's listening is listening, and whoever's not is not. There's a culture to how people run their lives, their homes. What's the chance of a husband and wife having the same culture? The exact same culture in their values, their furniture. We didn't buy when we first got married. I told my wife, let's not buy furniture. Let's get second-hand for the first few years. It'll take, I think, 4 or 5 years, and then maybe we'll have similar taste. Kachava, 5 years later, we have very similar taste. We bought furniture. But originally we bought second-hand because he didn't care. It just wasn't that important. Culture could destroy your life because you can't debate culture. See, people think their culture is right. It's so fascinating. Everyone thinks my culture is the right culture. There's a way you should, there's one button. People tell me, my kids will tell you, you're not allowed to do 2 buttons when you button your jacket. You only 1 button. Why? Who made this up? Where? Which book? I'm just going to do the second one. You look like Nebi. Where? Nebi, I got 2 buttons, I'm cold. What? No. Today the hats, you see the boys, suddenly the brims got smaller. Why is this with the small brims? Right? I walk into a store, I ask for a hat. They say, I'm sorry, we don't have one like yours. I say, do you have an antique? Can I, like what? I'm not wearing one of those small brims. No, thank you. There has to be a big normal brim. Normal. It's not normal anymore, Rabbi Shimon. It's not normal. What happened? Culture. You can't debate culture. Culture doesn't have a right or wrong. So the beauty of culture is tuning in to someone else's culture and honoring them and recognizing it simply is something that makes them feel good is an act of love. Not tuning it is an act of war. Just simply working on myself to tune in and say, there's no right or wrong in moldings. If this makes you happy and we can afford it, gesundheit. Gesundheit. What do I care? It makes you happy. This is the Yesod. And these four inyanim, intimacy needs being different, process as opposed to outcome oriented, personality and culture, these guarantee that men and women cannot get along naturally. Impossible. No such Messias, never was, never will be. And the Eibishter gave us this gift, this beautiful gift, this amazing gift that will force us to a journey that's absolutely extraordinary. In intimacy, I'm not talking about physical, I'm talking about emotional intimacy, the connection, dveikus, the real dveikus, intimacy is dveikus. There's also four levels. The lowest level is physical intimacy, physical dveikus, okay. But if that's all people have got, sooner or later they get fed up with it. If everything else is going wrong and that's all it is, it doesn't work. That's why in the secular world, most people get divorced. Because after a while, it doesn't work. It doesn't nurture. It doesn't take you anywhere. It only takes you inside. It takes you to you. It doesn't take you out of you. It's nice. Okay, so you get married. So I love you because of the physical pleasure and the physical, things you do for me. Okay, fine, Shalom, it's very nice. It's a very, very, very low level of intimacy, a low level of dveikus. It doesn't take you very far. If anything, it takes you to a divorce. It doesn't take you anywhere. What's the second level of intimacy? I call it emotional intimacy. You go to a Rav, you go to a counselor, a mashpia, someone, a maven, a rebbitzin, and they talk, a young couple, what's wrong, what's going on. So they'll say things, intelligent, smart things like, tell me, is there something nice about the person you like? I want to connect you to the person. Is there something you enjoy or appreciate about the other person you're married to? And so you have an emotional connection. Well, yeah, there's things I love about the person I like, I admire. It's not just the physical attraction, but they have good midos, they have good qualities. This is emotional intimacy. This is where you connect on an emotional level where I appreciate you for who you are. I see you're a good person. I see you have wonderful qualities, and I appreciate you for those qualities. This is already a nicer level, a higher level of intimacy, of dveikus. It's a beautiful level. And unfortunately, most people stop here. Most people spend the rest of their lives, they stop right there. The successful marriages, most of them stop right there. They stop at emotional intimacy. They appreciate each other, but they spend a lot of their life closing their eyes, looking away from the things they don't like about each other, which they can't deal with, which they don't know what to do with. So they look away. They suppress their feelings because they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what to do with it. And they enjoy that which they can enjoy, the physical, they enjoy the emotional, the connection when it happens. Oh, but it stops there. It's not taking them where it's meant to go. The next level is an unbelievably beautiful level. I call it psychological intimacy. Psychological intimacy. What's a psychological intimacy? It means like this. It means where I recognize fully and humbly that I am an imperfect human being. I have flaws. I'm not such a wonderful person. I have great milas. I have great qualities. I also have certain flaws. And I would be extremely honored and feel very respected if my spouse could accept that I'm working on those flaws. I'm not denying them. I know I have them. I'm aware of that. I'm not just accepting and saying, tough, live with me. Accept it. I'm saying, I know I got it and I know I got to work on it. And I am working on it. But I really appreciate if you could accept that these are flaws which I'm aware of and I'm working on them. And you know what? In return, I will honor you the same way. In return, I will accept that you have flaws too, and I see you're working on yours, and I don't have to be afraid of them. I don't have to be ashamed of mine or yours. I don't have to be scared of our flaws. I can look them in the eye, open-eyed, and I can love you with your flaws, as I would like you to love me with mine. I don't have to deny anything. I can be really honest with myself and with you. It's a pretty awesome level of marriage. Pretty special. Because there's no lying or denying. There's two humble people trying to work together to grow, to work on their midas, to do the work the Eibishter gave us to do in this world, to use the vehicle of their marriage to come to Rabbi Shalom. It's very special. It's beautiful. But it's still not the highest level. Listen to this. See, on the first level is I love you because of the physical benefits and pleasures of the relationship. On the second level, not just that, I love you because you're a good person. You're a kind person. You have very many milas, and I appreciate your milas. I love you because of that. On the third level is I love you for everything you are, despite the fact that I can be completely honest about what my chesonis are and what your chesonis, I can love you anyway. Totally. Does not get in the way. I can look the chesonis in the eye and love you anyway. Oh, but listen to this. The fourth level, which I call spiritual intimacy, is not just I love you because of the physical benefit. And Nishna, I love you because of the emotional, the wonderful things about you. And not that I love you despite your chesonis. I love you because of them. I love you because those chesonis, those things I experience as chesonis, they will take me to the Rabbi Shalom. They will take me to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. My working out how to overcome my self-centered ego, to stop looking at you and thinking of your chesroinus as being in the way, and embracing that you're a hard-working person trying to overcome your chesroinus. I don't love you despite them. I love you because of them, because they are mine. Because Abayim Yoim Kaidim Yesiras Havlad, the Eibishter gave you to me with that package. Because you're the best possible package that would force me to grow, that will bring me to Rabbeinu Shalom. You're mine. That's why I love you. And your chesronos are a part and parcel of that package. They're not in the way. They are the way. What is the essence of love? What is the essence of love? How do you define love? I'm going to say this twice. What is love? Love is the emotion, experience, or feeling that occurs when on a consistent basis, husband and wife are able to put the other's needs before their own needs when the two sets of needs are in conflict. If you want to feel love, that's when you feel it. The rest of the time you don't feel love, you feel pleasure. True love only occurs, I'm going to say it again, it is the emotion, experience, or feeling that occurs when on a consistent basis, husband and wife are able to put the other's needs before their own needs when the two sets of needs are in conflict. You're stuck in the house, in the bungalow colony. It's been raining, a sticky, humid, hot, rainy summer for a whole week. Finally, midweek, it stops up. The wife says, I can't anymore. I got to get out. I got to get out. It's nighttime. Can we go out? I just got to get out. I'm going crazy. Let's go out. Let's go and eat. We don't usually go to restaurants, but let's go and eat. I want to go out. I fancy, let's go out and eat. And he said, fine, okay, sure, no problem. What do you want to do? She says, a fish restaurant, dairy. I like to go. Women like dairy or fish. That's what women prefer generally. So I want, dairy. He says, look, I'm happy to go out. But, if we're going anyway, we may as well go to a fleischig place, Let's go enjoy, if we're going anyway. And she says, I've eaten all day. I'm really not even hungry. I just want to go out and spend some time together. Dairy, it's light, it's easy. If you don't mind, I want to... Listen, if you insist on dairy, I'll go dairy. I don't like dairy. It gives me stomach pains. I like a steak, Mind you, he just had supper. But, Fine, she says, fine, we'll go fly. All right, don't get what are you getting so upset about? I'm getting upset. I want to go out, and you're telling me hijacking my whole... I'm hijacking, so why are you starting up with me? Fine, I don't want to go out, and she starts crying. I don't want to go out, I'm fine, I'm just going to go to bed. Now you're going to bed? What do you make a whole thing for here? Well, let's go out. So we'll go dairy. We'll do dairy. Fine. Okay. I won't even eat. It's fine. Whatever they do, they're both miserable. She'll be choking on a piece of cheese in the dairy place. It doesn't work. She didn't want food. She didn't want dairy. She wanted time out with her husband. I just need to unwind without the kids for a little bit. Let's rerun this. Remember, we said love is the emotion, experience, or feeling that occurs when on a consistent basis husband and wife put the other's needs before their own needs when the two sets of needs are in conflict. Let's run the story again. It's been rainy, the bungalow colony, it's hot and humid. She says to him one night, it's late, I've been locked up it's a week already. I gotta get out. Can we go out? I need to go out. She says, sure, of course, let's go, pleasure. Well, you want to go eat? Yeah, I want to go and eat. It'd be great. So, okay, what do you want to do? And she says, dairy, I want to go dairy light. And he says, listen carefully, he says, listen, you want to do dairy, my pleasure. Personally, I prefer meat, prefer steak. Nothing wrong with saying it. Personally, I prefer this. But you want to do dairy, whatever you want, I'll do dairy, no problem. And she says, I would prefer dairy. All right, it's fine. You want to do meat, we'll do meat, no problem. He said, no, chas v'shalom, it was your idea. Let's do dairy. It's fine. I'm fine. Honey, I'm fine. She says, no. I see you really wanted meat. I know, man. You want... He says, no. Chas v'shalom. I heard Russell talking. I'm telling you, I'm good with... As a matter of fact, I like dairy. Now, don't be ridiculous. You don't like dairy better. But it's okay. Wherever they go, they experience love. It doesn't matter if they eat dairy or meat anymore. Because each was trying to put the other's needs first. Doesn't mean you don't say how you feel. You can, you should. You have to be you. You have to be honest. She'll know anyway. They always know. But when you try and say, but honey, you want to do dairy? My pleasure. It's okay. I'm good with that. Every Isha, right away, they say, no, it's fine. I know you want meat. Anyway, he's happier if you take him to meat. But Lamaisa, two people are putting the other one's needs first. That creates love. That shafts love. dafka because there was dissonance. Because there was the difference. There was different needs. Is what created love. If she had said, I want to go out. And what do you want? I want a steak. And he says, yeah, me too. And they go and have a steak. They have a nice time. But it's not loving in the same way. It doesn't shaft love in the same way. They both have the same needs. Okay, it's nice. But love happens, the feeling of being loved happens, dafka, when the two sets of needs are in conflict. And this is what the Eibishter gave us. He gave us this gift. He gave us this marriage that where two people can't get along naturally. So that we could have that experience to create love. And now just imagine for a minute if our children are zeicher to grow up and watch that. Imagine what we do for them. Imagine how we would guide them and heal them. And even if the kids have gone astray, and we turn this as our primary vehicle in our life, we create this in our homes, you've created a compelling reason that your children should want to come back and rejoin such a home. Because a home where there's hurt and fighting and dissonance and disappointment and sadness, why would a child want to do the work they have to do to overcome their struggles and issues to go back to that type of home? Why? It's not inviting. It's not a place I want to be at. So why would I want to recover? Why would I want to get my Yiddishkeit back or work on my life to get it back to be part of that home? But if I have a home where there's love, genuine love oozing out of such a home, where people are honest about who they are, they don't have to hide, they can be truthful, but at the same time love each other and respect and put each other's needs first. I submit to you, that is a place your children will want to be. They will want to come back to such a home. They will want to reorient their lives in subtle ways so that when eventually they can settle down and marry, they could come back to a Shabbos and a Yom Tov in that home. Because that's a place I want to be at. It's a safe place where I can feel loved and accepted. It's the most profound gift we give our kids. It's the bomb of all bombs. Is that we make our marriages into this. And I'll tell you one last thought. When we walk around miserable with each other, chas v'shalom, we are telling our children, I am not merutza with the Ribbono Shel Olam. Chas v'shalom. We are communicating to our children, I am not merutza. I think the Eibishter cheated me. He let me down. He disappointed me. And when my kids feel that, chas v'shalom, from me, why wouldn't they resonate to that too? Why wouldn't they look at their own nisyonos and their own struggles and say, Eibishter let me down big time. These things that happened to me should never have let them happen. I don't love him either. But when we, husband and wife, we look at each other, we see the milas and the chesonos, we see the truth, we see who we are. We recognize we don't get along naturally, but we accept Eibishter gave you to me. You are my gift in this world. And I'm going to live my life where my children feel that. Not darshan about it. They see it, witness it, they feel it, they experience it. They know I am merutza. I accept the Ribbono Shel Olam, this gift he gave me. Then maybe our children can accept the gifts that He gave them in their challenges and use them to fight their own way back. So Leibish Dalfin, I really hope this is helpful. I hope we can all do it. This is the aside, how you say this. This is it, Rabbi said. This is it. Everything else is idach pirusha, telling you this is the aside. We have to put all our kaiches into this, all our effort, all our energy, to create true love, husband and wife. And our children should feel and experience it. With Hashem's help, it will bring us all to the tachlis. Dov kabbalah.